Hello, hello, beautiful humans. You are here to think out loud with me. I am Natalie Peterson, casting in from my little neck of the woods in northern Colorado to you in yours, wherever and whenever that might be. This digital adventure is my solution of turning years of internal chatter, wondering, silent suffering, and physical and mental close calls into enlightening and empowering conversations with others. What a beautiful day, y'all. Have you had a chance to get outside? This morning's walk was incredibly refreshing and just full of yummy everywhere I looked. I walk along this massive lake by my home, and with the sun rising and the birds waking and the boats taking the water, it was just good for the legs and the soul to be just moving. I take walks to wake up my body and my mind. And in preparing for today's cast, I got to thinking about the sacred feminine and masculine energies flowing through every being, my own included. Gender discussions aside, that's not for today. Someone somewhere started the notion that turned into the cultural norm that men are masculine and women are feminine, and anything other than that is a problem. To be a man is to be masculine, little to no emotion, hard edges, take charge, direct, outspoken. Men, man up. Boys, don't cry. On the other hand, women are feminine, emotional, soft-spoken, light on their feet, and ladylike, nurturing, and home, taking care. Be sure, though, every one of us, regardless of how we present, embody both masculine and feminine energies, like sun and moon, light and dark, yin and yang. One cannot exist without the other. It's like asking the right side of your brain to work without the left. Masculine without feminine cannot be done. But boy, oh boy, can it be conditioned, squashed, muted, and suppressed. You're a pussy. You're a dick. That's just gross. And so screw all that gross thinking and open up with me now. We each are both and more. And when we have an imbalance in these fundamental aspects of our being suffers. On one of my visits south to Mexico, I experienced the work of a beautiful medicine woman named Hilda. Several of us met at her home in San Sebastian, one of the villages that surround the pyramids of Teotihuacan. Hilda is a healer woman who does not speak English, but who communicates with ancestors and guides and animals and spirits and uses her gifts and calling to clear energy fields and balance channels of masculine and feminine energy. I stood in Hilda's garden, my arms outstretched, my eyes closed, and my face up to the sky as she circled around me in ceremony using cacao and copal and sage and tobacco. She used her hands and feathers and leaves and branches and cloth and stones and wood and then scissors. I opened up my eyes to see her snipping, snip, 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 snipping at the energy in the air around my back, my arms, my legs, my head. I was mesmerized. After she quieted and turned and looked to me and finished, I asked, "What the hell was that?" She couldn't find the English word. She couldn't find what she wanted to tell me. She explained it all to me in Spanish rapidly, but I had no idea what she was saying. She finally went into her house and she grabbed her phone and she spoke into the translator app and then held it up to my face. "You are too masculine." I removed. Hug, feminine. It is all of you, both, but not so much. Wow. She held me by my shoulders and said again, looking really deeply into my eyes, "Not so much masculine, you macho." I felt my entire body soften under her touch, and her words of her wish for me just took my entire body by a warm energy flow from outside in as a lifetime of trying to force my way through this world. Hard, tough, can't rock the edges, must do, must have, must not be so fucking emotional. Natalie, kick, climb, speak up, suck it up, cough it up. I was overwhelmed for the next few minutes with yawns and a gagging reflux that literally stunned me. Hilda just stood there and smiled. And then she drove us all back to our hotel in her tiny little car with her stick shift. She was done. My own work had just begun, unwinding and unraveling generations of conditioning. Big, deep, beautiful breaths of my masculine and my feminine energy. There's more to share, of course, always is, but I want to bring in my guest today to add another voice to this thinking. Listeners, please meet Amy Pons. Amy is a warrior and a healer, a rare unicorn, bringing almost 20 years corporate marketing experience paired with master certified coaching and layered with a newly awakened gift of energy and light work that helps guide you towards your higher self. She is a divine feminine catalyst, helping all humans to return to their unique brilliance. When you work with Amy, you unlock magic. That's your magic, the magic that is already inside you, has always been inside you, and that your ego has been keeping you from getting to on your own. She started her own company, Unlock the Magic, in 2023, with one goal in mind: to create pathways for each human being on this plane to step into their power. She serves humanity through fierce compassion and sacred rage, and a bit of woo and a bit of humor. Amy, my new friend, piping in from Chi-Town, Chicago. Please say hello to listeners. I'm super excited to be thinking out loud with you.
Hey there. What a beautiful story. As you were sharing that, I'm just staring at my incense, and it was beautifully talking to me through that story. And it kept splitting into what I am receiving as divine feminine, divine masculine. The incense itself, the smoke keeps doing that, and then comes together in this beautiful swirl. So that's what I'm doing over here.
Beautiful, beautiful. On the other side of Chicago, we've got some miles in between us, but we are connected, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can see the smoke drifting in front of the camera. It's the mood. You've set the mood quite well. I know from, doing my research and getting to know you that, this divine energy, this masculine and feminine energy is something that you are incredibly tied into, and that you have taken on as awareness and a magic of your own. And after hearing kind of my details of my walk this morning, add to thoughts around this dance of the two that we humans have within us?
Yeah, it actually used to enrage me a little bit when I first started doing the work, because I didn't want to. It felt like I had to fit into one more box. I'm like, why is there even divine feminine, divine masculine? Why? Why is there two? Why isn't it just divine human? I used to get so worked up about this. And very and this was happening for a long time, and I still, to some extent, even on my LinkedIn profile, I'm an intersectional feminist, and I thought about that a lot. I'm like, I'm an intersectional humanist, if that's a word. But I do understand now much more about the energies. And I think back then what used to make me so mad is because I was coming from a toxic corporate culture where, as a woman, and in my purview in the corporate world, the energies weren't a thing. Gender was a thing, sexism, racism, like all the isms are a thing. So I didn't even know what divine feminine was. And then I came out of corporate and I learned really quickly, oh, there's these energies, divine feminine, divine masculine. I was like, I just want to be Amy, and I want to feel amazing, and I want to be human. And so I've rejected them for actually a really long time. Because again, I think on the human level, on the ego level, we've assigned kind of what you were saying, divine feminine is soft, divine masculine is strong. I would actually say no. Like, I would say, like, stereotypical female people would say is soft, and stereotypical male people would say strong. So I really had to go inward and do a lot of work, and it is a lot of my own bias against being judged as a woman And it's taken me along, I'll be doing this work the rest of my life, but it is on a purely, you said this, it's on a purely energetic level in which if you say nothing else or understand nothing else, the divine feminine is all of creation, life, and divine masculine is all that supports earth
Mm-hmm.
or space, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if nothing else, it's it's life and space or life and support. How awesome. And what I beautifully kind of think through now, and I could go way deeper into what each energies are, but I now kind of I get it because imagine just creating life, creating life, creating life, creating life, creating life without any sort of support or structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that could look like. And then conversely, having all the structure and space in place, but no creation of life. So the balance. So I kind of finally get it, but again, it took me a long time because I felt coming out of the corporate world in a very 3D experience, it made me feel like I was just, having to define as one or the other. And to your point, it is both are all in us. And it is also true. I actually think there's divine masculine is one of the hardest to find these days because all humans haven't been asked to find divine masculine. It's actually it's like the toxic
Yep.
masculine, which is
Yep.
only caring. If you take like structure and order and action, which is in the divine, and you bastardize that, that becomes toxic, and then it's only about, and then it becomes only power, order, control, money. That's where it's become the toxic parts of that. And of course, there's toxic feminine too. So, those are my first few thoughts
Mm.
about how I was entered into them, and that again, I rejected them for about a year. And I finally started realizing, like, oh, first of all, it's energy. And of course, we all have it. And of course, the sheer fact that I was rejecting it was more of the masculine. It's just
Mm.
right. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. What lands with me there is around, like, I love the way that you create the life and support and one without the other. Yeah, it's beautiful. It brings a vision to my mind that is very much about a beautiful relationship. And it's incredible to me how I agree. And I totally resonates with me and fighting against these labels. And it's like, why can't I just be Natalie? Why do we have to talk about all of this stuff and all of these labels and all of these boxes and these columns that we fit ourselves in? And the irony of it too, like, uh, we're trying to be free of this stuff, and yet we continue to add to the lists, that we slash belong to, slash 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 comma, right? um so yeah, I appreciate your way of thinking, and this duality, right, where both two things can be at once, is something that, well, I think you even had it on your Instagram this morning, that it's on your
right.
mind. let's
That's why
let's go there. Yeah.
that's why I laughed. Well, and I think probably those who are listening don't love that I said divine feminine is life, because that takes our human brains to like procreation and like giving birth. So let's say creation.
Mm-hmm.
In that light, it doesn't make it so geared into women necessarily. So like the creation and space to release it to the world, or the structure and place to release it to the world. Duality. So oftentimes, especially in the world of social media, when someone posts something, of course, there's more context to that because we are multifaceted humans. And at the same time, that's the only thing that lands with whomever is reading that. So they many people read that as the only truth of that person. And so I always try to invite people to say, this is their snippet of time. And because I was in marketing for 20 years, I know that we have 30 seconds to get someone's attention. So it's not like, but I've leaned into it a little bit more now. Like when I post, I'll be like, I'll just be brazen about what I think right now. And I believe, I'm actually saying, do not vote for Donald Trump. That is I am saying I'm standing really firm in that, because I've been witness of, human rights, the earth, like Gaia has been forced to course correct herself because we're so imbalanced. I'm going out there and being pretty brazen about it. And I typically wouldn't do that. But I actually said this to my husband last night. I don't have the luxury of hearing someone say they're going to vote for someone who is adamant on removing my birthrights without sharing, not persecuting them, but saying, help me understand. Is there something I don't know? Which is, I want to engage in like a healthy conversation without making them feel some type of way. But like, it's literally, as I told him, I was like, as a woman, I don't have that luxury of being in earshot of someone saying vehemently that they're going to support someone that is stripping me of my birthrights. So that's where duality is interesting right now for me, because I am leading fully into that one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the duality of that would be, I'm asking people not to vote for Donald Trump, and I'm not going to persecute anyone for that. And I actually want to understand where they're coming from,
Mm-hmm.
if that is shared within my vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one right now. It's like, as a healer, I don't feel the need to go after any one person or entity or organization or groups of people. And there's this very real, they're on an energetic plane. Trump's actually doing exactly what he came here to do on this plane, which is tighten the screws pretty hard to awaken the masses. So he's doing his job, right? In that respect. And in the reality and duality, of course, he's doing what he came here to do, and it's harming the mass, like very masses of people, like literally women are 50% of the population, like it's harming the mass of the population. So all of that can be true together. When we say duality, it's like more than one thing can be true, and there can be, I have a strong opinion or stance on something, and I have room
Mm-hmm.
and capacity for other perspectives. That's how
Mm-hmm.
it's duality. It's not because I feel like when we're extreme in either, if we're ever extreme with no capacity of hearing other perspectives ever at all, that's both limiting to you and to why you're here, your unique brilliance. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's what popped into my mind listening to you too. Well, first, like the responsibility of communication to actually think as hard as you are thinking about it. And by hard, I don't mean like maybe more than hard. It's wide. Anyway, that the masses aren't, what you're doing is a very responsible way of communicating.
I hope so. I mean, I'm still going to, you'd asked me about the call that was happening last night with white women for Harris, and why it's important for, it's so if your listeners aren't aware, of women who voted for Trump in 2016, the majority were white women. So we have a responsibility to say, hey, listen, there's a really, and I'll be quite frank with you. I think while Joe Biden was a great president, like I wasn't like hyped necessarily on him. So like when Kamala, I was like, holy shit, I feel really excited. I mean, I felt so proud to be like a human, a woman in this time and space. And I felt amazing. So like in the call last night, I forget where I was going with this.
Responsible communication and yep.
Yes, yes. So like we were saying in the call last night, and like we said, Pink was on, Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach, Megan Rapinoe, Maria Shriver was on for a minute. Like all these like these feminists, both in like the celebrity and non-celebrity space, whatever. But in that moment, we were all white women saying, hey, we all have this amazing privilege and responsibility to protect our birthrights and to stand firm for especially the people who don't look like us, the people that don't love like us. Pink said that. Like we have a great responsibility as privileged white women to stand up for those people. And it's a great, so I really resonate, and I appreciate that you say about my communication, like we have a great responsibility of that, because I'm trying to protect myself, protect the collective. And I don't even know if it's a protective. It's like, do you know what will happen on day one in January if it's not Kamala? Like, do we know that? And I've started to integrate that into my socials. Again, trying not to persecute. It's such a fine
It's a fine line. Yeah.
Because like it's Project 2025. Like Trump didn't know what he was doing when he got in office in 2016, day one. That's why Project 2025 was stood up, so that it was like, here's how the president go. And that's why it was written. And I don't know that a lot of people know the ramifications of that. So anyway, I love that there's organizing, galvanizing happening. Black women, per usual, were at the forefront, driving everything and showed us how to do it. White women followed. And now there's a call for white men, it's called White Dudes for Harris, happening next week, for them to organize as well. So it's like, wow, I've never seen this happen in history, so it's interesting to be on like a spiritual healer in this very human space and time of this. Because I don't think I'm talking very specifically about the election, but like that's one specific scenario of the larger upgrade and shift of humanity that I've seen happening for the past few years. Like it's all been leading up to this, and this is the one. This is the shift. The next 6 months, especially. It's like asking humanity, now's the time.
Buckle up.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Wow.
Maybe I'll get off the election for a second. That's like totally in the 3D, like I don't know, it doesn't feel like high vibes because it is talking about two individuals, but I do share, if we hold our light, I'm trying to hold firm on my light so that others can feel, and maybe the light in this instance is like the light of knowledge and education in each scenario. And so in that case, like I'm holding the light of awareness or consciousness so that others can step into it. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, so yes, and I think that if you are, so I don't think a lot of folks understand, or no, that's not fair. This concept of 3D, 4D, 5D, and multi dimensions is not where the masses live.
There, yeah.
So, where I go with the concept of two humans, being who we're talking about, is that as a being, regardless of anything else, just as energetically, that the the connection of where my energy is safe, where my energy is welcome, where my energy is nourished, where my energy has a future, where there's love, where there's right, there's a uh, it's representation of energy to me.
Yeah.
And I think that I have to, where I've caught myself, to me, the whole concept of all of it is it's right fighting, and whoever's going to be the last one standing and pissing on the other one is going to be the winner, right? And so in my own ways, let's go back a couple weeks into, attempted assassination, and not wanting a human being's life to be taken, period.
Period. I was I was pretty disappointed the day after that when people are like, "Oh, it was so close." I'm like, "Y'all, no, do better. No. We do not wish ill on any human.
No.
We do not do that." So I'm like, "Lift up." That's low vibes. You're right. Like, lift up. We do not. No, no. That's something I've vehemently unsubscribed to, when people wish ill upon someone else. And I like what you're saying about what they represent. Like, one is division, one is unity, one is hate, one is love. Those types of vibes, like, and it's interesting because, and within both of those, there's duality within those as well. Is Kamala perfect? No. Is Trump perfect? No, no. But like, there's duality within even those of like, though, because I try not to live in like the good or bad, right or wrong. It's like all, and it's like, okay, everything's a lesson of figuring out, okay, what and like, I'm a yes and person, or a yes and but, or no and, all that. So
And giving in responsible, like in the responsibility of it, like I had a conversation with my 15-year-old around, well, gosh, I mean, that's a whole nother podcast conversation of young people coming up into this, but JD Vance had the doing his whole rail against Trump, and now is the VP nominee, and that I'm not going to jump on, well, you changed your mind. Yes, he changed. I hope that people change their minds. So I hold, regardless of what the topic is, give space for people to change their minds. And so if I can't go after and after him for changing his mind for whatever, I like above and beyond that, and the why and the how and the blah, blah. The situation is that changing your mind is part of being human, getting more information and being enlightened and leveling up and being compassionate and open is all a part of this. And I hope that people are able to change their minds. Can I tell them what to change their minds to? No, but
no,
responsibility is.
I can at least share information that I know or that I've learned. And it's funny you bring up like with VPs. That's like how any nominee finds their running mate. It's like the one, they're all fighting each other, and it's like, oh, they all concede, and it's like, let me pick one of the ones that was just trying to tear me down, whatever. So I'm not sure about politics in and of itself. I typically, it's like, I typically vote a specific way, but I feel a specific responsibility as a healer and a warrior in this one specifically to help people arrive to their own unique brilliance, their own vibe. And I love what you just said about being able to change your mind. That's like the coolest thing about being a human. It's like, oh, all right. Like, and I personally would love if we could get into some more healthy debates. Like, if I could get into the room with someone that has an opposition from me, and we have like an honest, like real conversation about why we think the way we do, or like the way we feel, and say like, huh, and it be just a conversation.
Yeah. Rather than a judgment or
Yeah.
an all out, eventually what feels like an all out battle.
No one's perfect. And, of course we were going to see, it's just starting, like seeing the
Yeah.
people coming after, the two humans, and neither are perfect, and and there's a lot more to learn and say, and, but anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, and so this to pivot slightly, this responsible communication that we have around this topic isn't just something that is innate in all of us. I think that that well, uh, there's I can speak for myself, being able to be in this space mentally and gosh, politics, just the concept of this conversation used to make me sweat because I just shut down, right? So it's taken work. It has taken an incredible amount of self-awareness to come into a space of my own where I am crediting myself with my thoughts rather than and even doing that much admission of saying to you, there were thoughts that so most of my thoughts were not my own. They were curated elsewhere, and I thought that they were the right ones to be thinking, right? So my point is, we didn't get here easily, and a long fucking way to go. I would love to dig into a little bit of your own backstory and just the journey to get to this beautiful place where you are at. And because ultimately uh, I want to invite people to experience your magic. So can you share a little bit of Amy,
Yeah.
the making of Amy?
The making of Amy. I just saw like a big highlight reel flash through my mind. So, depending on what your vibe is of how we got here, personally, I feel that on the soul plane, we sign up for things on Earth because we're like, huh, what is childhood trauma? That sounds fun. Let me sign up for that. I want to feel that. Let me experience that. What is domestic violence? Ooh, let me sign up for that. Okay. So on the soul plane, everything is, there's no good, bad, evil, right, wrong. Everybody is just kind of like this state of euphoria. And so you sign up for different experiences to ascend your mastery of self. And so for me, what that looked like was signing up for, uh, as a child, a lot of psychological, emotional, some physical abuse. And that created a pattern from the first 20 years of my life into the second 20 years of my life, which I was looking for more of the same, that familiarity of whether it be like that volatility, that hostility, that's where I felt safe. And so I would seek out places in the workplace that were maybe notoriously known for something like being toxic, and I would take on this, I'm gonna fix it, because that's what I was as a child. Within my family, I was like, I'm gonna fix it. So, and because that was the pattern that was created from the moment I got here, and like we talked about earlier a little bit, touched on, the moment we're conceived, we download, like, 3, 4 generations before us. So like our entire lineage is within us. And so even if you didn't sign up for certain things on the soul plane, that's my philosophy again, you still have your lineage inside your DNA the moment you get here that may or may not be yours in this physical body, but you feel some type of way when something happens and you're like, what is that? So there's I was bringing all that too. And so I also signed up to be the cycle breaker. And so within whether it be my family, the space and time, like I was the one that was going to come in and break the cycle of the patterns of whether it be, I don't know, I'm going to call it the not good enoughness. That was really the theme and the thread from all the generations before me and me. So after the second 20 years, I realized, oh, this is the pattern, and I was being called. So a lot of people ask me, what is the magic? How do I find it? I'm like, well, think back to when before anyone told you what you had to do. So even like when you turned 6 or whatever and you have to go to kindergarten. Think about even before that, like when was the last time you felt something that you didn't have a rule around? That's the magic, reaching back in and seeing what that originally was. It never went away. It just got clouded by all the things that we were told to do, including, and you don't have to have had a trauma experience for this. You could have, but you've been told, think about it. You've been told your entire life what you have to do. So the magic is tapping back into who you are on the soul plane before you got here, before the human experience really took hold. And when you start getting the call, what that looks like is that things that were just fine a month ago suddenly is not fine. And you're like, what is happening? So for me, what happened is I turned 40. The next day, I woke up with the most wild case of vertigo. I was not hungover. I had so much vertigo, my world flipped upside down, like very literally. And I had just started entering my last stint of like workplace abuse. And I was like, whoa. And I now know that my soul was starting to wake up. Now, I felt it about 6 or 7 years ago, but it was small enough that I could just ignore it. This time with the vertigo, it was like, Amy, now. And then even after that, it was 6 more months until I was really willing to relinquish to the awakening of my soul. And I didn't know what this meant. I had no idea. I just knew that not only did I not want to repeat my pattern again of not being good enough, I also didn't want to be in corporate the way that the workplace is right now, rooted in patriarchy, white supremacy, colonialism, late stage capitalism. I don't want to do that anymore. And oh, cool. I have some sort of a gift where I can feel how people feel. Am I a witch? I like nature. It was just all of this, like, what is this? And it was so cool because, again, I had the privilege to take a pause and lend my space and time and soul and feeling into what all of this was turning up for me. So my magic is I'm a healer and a warrior. That's my magic. And so what that shows up as on any given day, today my warrior was more here because I was on that call last night, and it was like it was actually pretty amazing. Last night on the call, it wasn't about women coming together and persecuting him. It was lifting her up. And I was like, wow, this is the divine feminine. Like, here we are. Here she is. And so my warrior, though, comes when someone is holding power over another individual. That's when I feel the need for warrior to come through. But healer is really at the base of my core, at the base of my magic, which is I genuinely want every creature on every plane to feel safe and to feel comfortable inside their skin. And that's what I create the space for when we're unlocking your magic. And it's the magic that may not be welcome in your day-to-day. And we find a way to walk toward it without having to sacrifice anything that feels safe right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is healing. A lot of it is realizing that, once again, and I don't like when people say, they're just getting in their own way. I don't think that's true. I think that based on lineage trauma, your lived trauma, conditioning, training, all of that covers up your magic. And we got to clear that out so magic can shine through. And the way we do that is we hold our light so that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And rarely, especially in a toxic workplace culture, for instance, where you spend the bulk of your time, there is no light. You might be the light and you shine it outside. Great. But that starts to hurt after a while. So.
Mm. Wow. I love your mind.
Thank you. I like
It's so pretty. I just love it. No, I'm like, I'm over here sweating too, because I'm like, this get like, so
What are you trying to release right now through the sweat?
that's such a great question. I, um, the what spoke to me was knowing. So so inner child work has been is not familiar to many folks. It wasn't familiar to me until I took it on, and I found I even in casts that I've recorded in the last few bits, thinking around memories and things that, to your point, like going back into those early days when you were unencumbered, you waved your magic wand and the forest danced, and the birds talked back, and and I, in the inner child work, found a place of realization where I realized, and I know you can relate to this, that I was going to be the fixer, because when I have a knowing that when my mother discovered she was pregnant with me, that one of her first thoughts was, this will save my marriage. This will make all of this work. She will be the glue that holds us together. So from the very get-go, before I found myself on this plane fixing.
Yep.
And
You were
shit,
assigned. You were assigned that. Yeah.
that was a load.
Yep.
I'm sweating because I took that assignment very seriously. And it was soul crushing to not be good at it. To not be good at keeping things together. So yeah, I hear this this beauty of this life, and the soul awakening to this truth of who we are and what we've come here to be. It can be super fucking overwhelming.
You were a small, precious child that deserved softness and grace and protection. And you still do. And the good news is now you can be that for her back then by showing her that you can be that for her now. Oftentimes there's so much expectation, especially depending on when, like, your generation of what you were born into. If you think about the baby boomers, they were born into literal scarcity, lack, and fear from parents from the Depression. And then boomers, so that was their whole upbringing, was never having enough. And literally. And then boomers raised X, so that was more of the same. Boomer or X raised millennials. We got a little bit more of that and started realizing a little bit more, like it starts shifting younger and younger to where Gen Z and Alpha, they're like, no, we're not doing that. So everybody above us figured out.
Oh, what a ride. What a ride.
Yeah. So that's how we get here. I mean, that's the thing I will say to either someone resonates with what I'm saying or they don't, and that's awesome. If you do, if something is like, yeah, something doesn't feel like kind of good anymore. Okay. If that's something in your work life, personal life, family life, it's worth having a conversation to see if we vibe, to see if I can help guide that. Because again, our egos will shoot a fortress up the moment you start going there on your own. Not that you can't do it. It will happen eventually. It just might take longer and it might hurt and it's hard not to have an ally or a sounding board to walk through that with you. So that's what I do, is guide through the awakening, to be like, I felt this. A lot of clients will bring me, I had a dream about something and then I saw it the very next day. Amazing. That's the magic. And that's, again, whomever or whatever you ladder up to, God, source, creator, universe, it's that connection to your higher self. In our dreams, that's a lot of times where they will talk to us if we're not able to hear them in our conscious, when we're awake. Like for me, I actually do talk to birds. They talk back. My dogs do too. So, but that's how you'll start getting those messages if you're not sure, is through your dreams. And we start wherever you are.
Awesome. Well, I folks have credited you with transformation, with their personal transformation. They've shared that you are a partner and a mentor with a beautiful gift of creating psychologically safe space, brave space, a difference between the two, to connect. And you have, you've touched hearts. How does that make you feel to hear how your magic affects others?
Warm. My solar plexus right now is like doing the Care Bear stare. That's what I like to say that I do with when I'm standing in my light, as like I'm a lighthouse. When I stand as my lighthouse, that's what I like. A Care Bear stare goes out from my solar plexus because I know who the fuck I am, and I allow you to step into who the fuck you are.
Good. Unlockthemagic.org is your website.
Yeah.
You are on LinkedIn. And because you have a lot of experience unwinding and are very active in changing, making change, you're a change maker in and around the corporate, if LinkedIn is more of a corporate feed, right? I personally like, high five, sister. I think the feed that goes through LinkedIn needs more of you and me, and like shake shit up, right?
Yeah, I like to poke the bear. I like to be really really provocative over there, and it's fun.
It's fun. Do more.
I will.
And then you have a very active Instagram presence. I'm going to put all of this in show notes. what are you working on? Any passion projects? Any special happenings going on in your world that you want to share with people?
Mhm. I believe that every human deserves the chance to feel and remember what it's like before the world told them what to be or what to do. And we've been in a world that has been so skewed in the masculine of taking action that it hasn't been welcome to know how to feel. So, if you're wondering how to balance your energies in any way to get the ball rolling, when you go to do something, I'm going to go poop, and I want to feel lighter after I go poop. Start introducing to yourself how you want to feel when you go to do something on the most basic level. That will start your body getting comfortable with balancing the doing with the feeling. So I would share with anyone that doesn't know how to, if you're feeling like, if you're feeling, it can feel jarring and scary to start doing the work. Absolutely. And so a lot of people will either ignore it or try it and turn back. I don't blame you. The dark night of the soul is really tough. The thing about that is it's going to keep getting louder and stronger. And that's where your health will be more impacted, because our physical symptoms are the last showing of what's going on inside of us. So none of this is a warning it's just what to look out for, and being aware of when you're getting the call. It's like, oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Here we go. And it's amazing. When you start to see those glimmers, you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing the work. That's why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. So. And it's also because the birdie told me so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for you healer, unicorn, warrior. I have a visual of you, of both on the back of the unicorn with Care
Yeah.
Bear. I
Yeah.
am, and it makes me smile, and I'm thrilled to have crossed paths with you, and for you to spend this time with me. And you're a beautiful soul, and I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I think the most beautiful part is for the next, like what I'm being called to do the back half of the year, is to not take the collective needs a lot of support right now energetically. So like, I'm not taking on new things. I'm the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So that's my job, is to be the lighthouse, so that folks who are feeling like they're in a storm have somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's about to get a lot choppier. So
Yeah.
I stand.
You stand. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Natalie, so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you to anyone, everyone, all the beautiful people that happen to be listening in, for thinking out loud with me, and for thinking out loud with my guest today, Amy Pons. Given how many choices you have to spend your time and your energy, I'm honored that you're listening in and spending it with me. Until we visit again, go live with love, and live with honesty and live with intention and light on your feet. And please, 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 please don't let anyone fuck with your flow. Big hugs, big love. Bye, friends.